Vice President Kamala Harris has recently made official phone calls to multiple heads of state. It's a task that's normally carried out by the president. The White House reports Harris spoke with French President Emmanuel Macron via telephone. They spoke about strengthening ties between the United States and France, the pandemic, climate change, and democracy. There was no mention of President Joe Biden. Harris also called Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau earlier this month. Vice presidents rarely call heads of state. Former Vice President Mike Pence did not share calls with Trudeau or Macron. He did visit some heads of state in person. Biden's latest efforts to slash Trump's immigration policies. Thousands of migrants who've been awaiting entry into the U.S. will now be processed to enter. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the story.
Biden is a step closer to squashing Trump's Migrant Protection Protocol, or MPP. 25,000 migrants who have been waiting in Mexico for legal entry into the states will be processed for entry starting this week.
This is probably the worst possible time to be allowing this kind of influx, not only the first 25,000, but the next 25,000 and who knows how many to follow, because Americans are still struggling and legal immigrants are still struggling because of the pandemic.
There are some restrictions. In the first phase, only those who are currently in the MPP will be processed. But it's unclear how or when other migrants will be processed for entry. The DHS says others should await further instructions, leaving the question of how Biden will handle illegal entry attempts in the future once the MPP is completely stripped away.
Before we had the MPP program in place, the situation was essentially catch and release. And that led to a huge crisis at the border where we had hundreds of thousands of people who showed up in 2018 and 2019. It was overwhelming to Customs and Border Protection and to the Border Patrol. People were released without us really knowing who they were, where they were going, why they were coming. And as a result, and we know that criminal organizations and gangs used this chaos at the border to get their recruits in place in the United States.
Vaughn says that once the MPP is gone, she expects another crisis at the border in a very short time. The DHS says their new direction, quote, should not be interpreted as an opening for people to migrate irregularly to the United States. And the White House press secretary told migrants now is not the time to come because most asylum seekers will be turned away. However, Vaughn warns that actions speak louder than words.
The other message that has been put out by the Biden administration is that interior enforcement of immigration laws has been all but suspended. So if you get here illegally or otherwise, even on the basis of a false or frivolous asylum claim, you're not going to be made to leave.
That's because Biden's policies that clamp down on ICE only allows them to arrest and deport serious felons, meaning many illegal immigrants are free to stay in the U.S., including sex offenders, those convicted of drug crimes, fraud, simple assault, and others. So although the Biden administration keeps saying don't come, his policies may have already increased the pull factor. Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
And though many states' GOPs have officially denounced the senators who voted against party lines, Utah's not one of them. Utah's Republican Party says they won't take action against Senator Mitt Romney because they want to focus on unifying their party. And Fulton County's elections director has been fired after heavy controversy during the primary and presidential elections last year. This after a number of alleged voter fraud cases moved forward in the Peach State. Here's the details.
Fulton County's Board of Elections voted 3-2 to fire Richard Barron as the county's elections director.
Ruth.
Yes.
The ayes have it.
Fulton County's State Farm Arena became the center of controversy during the 2020 presidential election, and Barron often bore the brunt of it.
So far, we've scanned 113,130 ballots. We've adjudicated over 106,000.
Droves of witnesses came forward with allegations of election fraud, mistreatment of Republican poll workers, and mishandling of ballots. Election authorities acknowledged there were errors, mishandlings, and violations of protocol in the county.
persistent chain of custody issues, ballots that were being delivered to State Farm Arena in unsecured mail carts, which the monitor noted was very concerning.
The county also came under heavy scrutiny for problems during its primary election in June 2020 and has grappled with disorderly elections for years. During the public commentary portion of the meeting, some praised Barron as a boss, while others accused him of firing them for speaking out about election concerns, like Bridget Thorne, who was a Fulton County precinct manager for nearly 9 years.
How many other people have gotten fired when they spoke up? How many other people aren't speaking up because they fear of getting fired?
Barron's firing follows a series of probes into voter fraud cases in Georgia. Last week, Georgia's election board referred 35 cases of voter fraud for prosecution. One case involves a missing memory card that made headlines during the 2020 presidential election. The Fayette County Elections Board and its director are being accused of improperly handling 4 memory cards. One card containing 2,600 votes was missing during the November 3rd vote count and was only uncovered during the recount. Senator Raphael Warnock is also under investigation for his role serving as board chairman of the New Georgia Project in 2019, a voter registration organization founded by Stacey Abrams. Authorities say the group submitted 1,268 voter registration applications after the deadline for a 2019 special election, causing voters to be disenfranchised. Grace Coulter, NTD News.
The co-founder of the Lincoln Project has been embroiled in a series of sexual assault allegations from young men and even boys. But the Political Action Committee says it will continue producing content. NTD's Christina Kim has the latest updates on the story.
A second minor has come forward to accuse Lincoln Project co-founder John Weaver of sexual harassment. Author Ryan Gordusky broke the news on the Ingram Angle on Fox News Monday. The Lincoln Project is dedicated to defeating Trump and his supporters in the U.S. More than 20 men came forward in January alleging Weaver offered them professional support in exchange for sex. The New York Times reported that for years he sent unsolicited and sexually provocative messages to these men online. Weaver also allegedly contacted a boy as young as 14 years old, and when he turned 18, Weaver started sending him sexual messages. He took a medical leave from the group in August and never returned. Several co-founders like Steve Schmidt and Jennifer Horn resigned from the fallout, and the Lincoln Project said Weaver betrayed them all. But the Associated Press reports Lincoln Project leaders knew of at least 10 specific cases against Weaver since June 2020. And the 19th, a nonprofit nonpartisan news group, reports that some of the founders knew about the allegations against John Weaver as early as March. And the group's finances are under heat as well. The AP says they raised $90 million, of which more than $50 million went to firms controlled by Lincoln Project leaders. The donation button on their page is now disabled. Wikipedia began classifying the Lincoln Project page as semi-protected, meaning the page can't be edited by most users. They claim this is to stop disruption or vandalism on the page. The group hired a law firm to investigate allegations against Weaver and the company culture. Despite the scandal, the Lincoln Project is operating at full capacity and will continue producing and distributing content. Christina Kim, NTD News.
A World Health Organization expert gives unexpected new updates after visiting Wuhan, China to probe the origins of the pandemic. And in Australia, the Prime Minister may tear up a controversial Chinese investment deal. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has the details.
New comments from the lead investigator on the World Health Organization's virus origin probe. In an interview, Peter Van Emberich told CNN the virus outbreak in Wuhan might be much more extensive than previously thought. The first confirmed case was discovered back in December 2019 in Wuhan. That's according to Chinese authorities. But other sources, including the U.S. government, say cases can be traced back to months before that. Emberich's team recently traveled to Wuhan to investigate the origins of the virus. He says they found that even as far back as December 2019, there were over a dozen strains of the virus in Wuhan. He added that the virus could have sickened more than 1,000 people by that point in December. He called the information a new finding.
Hi there. A quick update. Social media has some new restrictions which might affect your access to our channel. If you want to stay tuned, make sure you visit us directly at ntd.com. We'll also have a newsletter coming out soon, and you can sign up for that now, so stay in touch. Thanks for watching.